Yes.
Good morning, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right. Read the first line. Okay. Okay. We were here when we met last. This is the second component of working capital after cash. So, just 1 second. Okay. What all we are supposed to discuss under this head, that is management of receivables. First part, that is 6.2.1, first part where the cursor is blinking, receivable management, to whom, how much, and for how long, was discussed last time. When we met last, it was on Sunday perhaps, yes, where Sunday or Monday, very less people joined that, very less numbers joined that. So on that day, I have covered this part, receivable management, to whom, how much, and for how long. I also asked you if there are some humorous quotes which convey a lot of meaning with regard to receivable management, and I asked you, many, in fact, all of you, to share if you have come across with any. I just got one answer. I just got one information from one of you. The rest of you perhaps could not, or you did not pay any attention to the request that was made. Leave it to your choice. No, no, no issues. Tell me if you need to know anything about whatever we have discussed so far. I'll answer your queries. If not, we'll move on to the next part, which is mentioned in our syllabus. If you have any question, raise your hand, ask me the query. If you don't have, I'll proceed. Assuming that since you are not asking any question, assume that you have none. Let me come to the next point, that is 6.2.2. That is trade off between granting and not granting a credit. If you grant credit, there are two aspects. That is the complete rationale of your entire topic, management of receivable. 6.2.2 is the total rationale, complete rationale of what we shall discuss under this heading. You have to strike a balance between granting and between not granting. Should the credit be granted or not? We have to calculate, we have to arrive at a trade-off. How do you arrive at that? I'll discuss in the subsequent section. And what is that trade-off? If you grant credit, sales increases and so does profitability. If you do not grant credit, sales does not increase as much as you desire, and naturally a profit will also be adversely affected. Think of any organization, hundreds, thousand, one, two, any organization that you may think of. You will notice that overwhelming majority of the organizations, especially large size organizations, even small size organizations, they extend credit ranging from a day to a year, a month or 2 months or 3 months. They just 1 second. Just 1 second. Some people are asking me to join. Let me just. Okay. So organizations extend credit. If they do not, sales is affected. If they do, again sales is affected. So the decision that we have to take, we have to find out, we have to strike a balance between granting and between not granting. Suppose we grant, that naturally sales will increase. At the same time, just 1 second. Again, there are several messages. Let me reply them. Okay. Trade-off between granting and not granting. So there are several messages which are disturbing in between. Somebody says he has been able to understand this nonsense. You should try in time, and if you are not able, take corrective measures then and there. Why to wait? Should I wait till the end of the class? Trade-off, granting and granting. When you grant the credits itself, several risks. For example, suppose the person does not pay, then the entire profitability will be affected twice, thrice, maybe 10, 15, 20 times. You extend a credit sale of rupees 100, and suppose the profit margin is 10%, so you are expecting 10 rupees profit. If the entire amount does not come through, so instead of generating a profit of rupees 10, you have lost rupees 90. So that is the risk. Not granting credit, you only lose the profitability of rupees 10. So one has to take a calculated risk. One has to carry out in-depth analysis, and then only the receivable management is applied. What do we do in that? That part I will be discussing in these subsequent headings. We will be talking about these aspects: credit policy, which includes credit standard and credit terms. We shall also discuss effects of credit standard and credit terms on profitability with the help of some numericals. Then we will talk about something other than the numerical part of it, like what kind of analysis do we have in order to control the credit, what measures we take for effective credit management, for effective receivables management, what steps we take to collect our money in time, etc., etc. So that will be discussed under the heading of receivable management. Then last part in this entire entire topic would be discussion on some external services, external agencies which offer credit management to various organizations as a professional service. Now in the subsequent slides you will see the details of all these. 6.2 and 6.621 and 622 credit standards. So decision to relax or tighten the time period allowed for the credit is known as credit standards. For example, a company's credit standard is that it allows credit for a period of 15 days. Now what will be the change? You can relax the credit standard, say from 15 to 30 days, 45 days, 2 months, or you may tighten the credit standard. If currently it is 1 month, you may make it 15 days, you may make it 45 days. In both the cases, you are changing your credit standards. When you change credit standards, that means you are, relaxing the credit standards, or you are tightening the credit standard. Currently, if it is 30, you say no, 30 days is too much, we will extend credit only for 15 days. If you think 30 is a bit, tight, you may decide that you will extend it for 45 days. Now, each of your decision will have financial implications. In the subsequent slides, we shall discuss what will be those financial implications. Before I go to the slide, you think of the organizations which offer credit and the organizations which do not offer credit. Any product that you are quite used to, you think that the organization offers you credit or it does not. See, in your daily life, you are buying several things. All these come for cash or on credit.
So mostly on cash.
In most of the cases, it is on cash. Now think the same in the context of an organization. Organizations, do they offer credit or they do not? General trend is that credit sales are offered. Organizations do offer a credit. Organizations do offer credit. So we need to analyze what should the organization do with respect to changing their credit standards. If they extend credit, benefits I have explained to you, sales will increase. What will be the risk associated? Or what will be the cost of extending credit time period? Let us say from 1 month to 2 months. What will be the cost? What cost will the firm incur if it extends credit for 2 months instead of 1 month? Can somebody think and explain? Yes, Aman, are you around? Muhammad Aman. Yes.
Sir.
What will be the cost if the company extends credit from 1 month to 2 months? What will happen? Have you all entered your names? Sorry, your roll numbers? Those of you who have not, do it now. See, you should, these are simple issues. If you extend credit from 1 month to 2 months, most important cost will be that your money will be blocked. Something that you should have received in a month's time, you are receiving after 2 months. So your opportunity, as a student of financial management, by now all these things should be clear to you. Your money will be blocked. It will cost you in terms of interest. Then the chances of bad debt will also increase. If somebody was supposed to pay you in 1 month and now he will pay in 2 months, the chances are in 2 months time his financial position may change. Earlier you recover your money, better it is for you. The chances of bad debts will also increase. Your collection efforts will also increase. So there are several expenses which will increase. It means it will be the cost of extending credit. What will be the benefits? The benefit would be if previously those who were buying, now they will buy more because now they will have to pay or they will be required to pay after 2 months. Your sales will certainly increase. So let us see what are the pros and cons of extending or tightening the credit standard in terms of profitability. So this has been worked out in this slide. Credit standard. Now look at the current proposal. What is the current proposal? Current proposal is sales is 25 lakh. Sales is 25 lakh. Average debt collection period is 90 days. What does it mean? That your credit standards are 90 days. Cost of capital is 20%. Bad debts are 5%. Sales price 500 per unit, variable cost 80%, and average cost is 450 rupees per unit. Now proposal. There are two proposals. First proposal is sales is 15 lakh. Sales is 15 lakh, average debt collection period 45 days. When you change the credit standard, your sales will decrease. What are your present standard? Present standard is 30 days, that is 90 days or 3 months. You are changing it to 45 days, so sales will decline. Your cost of capital will remain the same. Bad debts may change, which we have changed. Sales price unchanged, variable cost unchanged, and fixed the average cost is also unchanged. You have proposal 2. In proposal 2, what you are doing, average debt collection period is 135 days. That is how many months? Let us say 45 days. You are changing it. You are increasing it. So look at number of days. Previously 90 days. Currently, in first proposal, it is where are the days? In first
45 days.
45 days. That is, you are tightening your credit standard. In the second proposal, you are relaxing your credit standard. You are relaxing your credit standard. So what is happening here? What are we doing? We are trying to change our credit standard, and let us see what will be the implications of changing it. First, look at the last row number 7. Currently our profit is 12,500. If we accept proposal 1, our profit is 27,500. If we go for proposal 2, our profit is minus 2,37,500. So if we look at the conclusion, what do we decide? Should we change the credit standards or not? If we change, should we go for proposal 1 or should we go for proposal 2?
Proposal 1.
Proposal 1.
Proposal 1. Okay. Similarly, if any of this data changes, accordingly net profitability will change. When net profitability changes, our decision will also change. So what is important for us now is to find out how have we arrived at these calculations. How have we made these calculations? Okay. Now, working notes I have given on the second slide, but here as a summary, you should know that whenever we wish to make any changes from our present policy, I am talking in respect of management of receivables. So what kind of change can we bring in? We can offer credit for more number of days, or we can offer credit for less number of days compared to our present status. So I have explained with the help of 2 proposals compared to our present status, in which in one case we are increasing our number of days, in second case we are decreasing number of days. In both the cases, what is the effect on profitability? It has been summarized here. In the next slide, you will see the working notes. Now, calculation of fixed costs. See, one of the options for me was that I should have given you calculated fixed costs. I should have already given you calculated fixed costs. But the reason for not giving is that because these concepts have already been explained to you in accounting, so we should build on them, not to repeat them. So this is for illustration purposes. Fixed cost is equal to average cost minus variable cost multiplied by number of units sold. Your average cost is 450, number of units are and the variable cost is 85%. If you multiply it by this, now you get through the formula you get the fixed cost. Now, investment in receivable. See, average debt collection period is already given there, that is 90 days. So if we divide 90 by 360, you get monthly or yearly, what you call this yearly amount which is blocked. So your 25,000 have been blocked. For how many months? Blocked for only 3 months. And what is this 20%? it is your KE, because you will calculate it with respect to cost of capital only. Cost of capital in details we have covered in unit number 4. So this is how we have arrived at this cost. Now, in order to do it, you should do it for the proposal 1 and proposal 2 yourself. So total cost, as you know, include fixed cost and variable cost. Overall, on the overall basis, the summary is that you see what is the total cost now and accordingly what is the total profit. Secondly, calculate what will be the total profit in case changes are accepted or changes are executed. If you think that profitability will increase, you go for the option, and in case you think profitability will decrease, you do not go for the option. So there are two areas in which we work out these, that is in terms of credit standards, and second is in terms of credit standard that we have worked out, and second was the credit terms. Credit standards are related to the initial sales and credit terms are related to the negotiations that you have in terms of sales. For example, in terms of not sales but rather in terms of collection, or you may call it as a cash discount. Many companies offer schemes in order to attract the faster collection, in order to ensure faster collection. They offer various discounts. They say if you pay within 5 days, we will give you 2% discount. If you pay within 15 days, we will give you 1% discount. If you pay within 1 month, we will give you 0.5% discount. If you pay beyond 1 month, there will be no discount. So these are all known as credit terms. That too, we can work out what will be the effect on profitability in case we change our credit terms from present to proposal A, proposal B, proposal C. How it has been done, this I have explained to you. Credit terms. What are the terms as on date? Current situation, sales is 150 crore, variable cost. What are terms? 1 by 35. It means, what is 1 by 35? If you pay within 35 days, it can be 30, 40, any number of days. If you pay within 35 days, you get 1% discount. If you pay within 60 days, you get no discount. This is what our current terms are, and the current situation is around 60% customers avail cash discount. That is, around 60% of them pay within 35 days and get this 1% discount. At this situation, our bad debt will be 0.5%. Cost of capital is 18%, and we have worked out the proposal. What is proposal 1? We want to change. We will give you 10%. We will give you 2% discount if you pay us within 10 days. We will give you no discount if you pay after 10 days, but within 90 days. So there can be several other conditions also in between, which I have not included for the simplicity of calculations initially. Our terms could be proposal 1, 2 by 10, 1 by 30, half by 45, something like that. There could be several other options. Similarly, in option 2, we will give you 3% discount if you pay within 10 days. We will give you no discount if paid after 10 days. And in such a situation, 95% may avail. In first case, 80% may avail. In the current situation, 60% are availing. You look at this data, 60%, 80%, 95%. Do you think this data is rational? Think of the question once again. Listen to the question once again. I have provided you an assumed data that percentage of customers who wish to avail or who are avail or who may avail cash discount. Currently 60%, in proposal 1 80%, in proposal 2 95% may avail. These assumptions are rational or these assumptions are not rational. If my question is clear, answer that. If question is not clear, ask me what you have not understood. I have posted the question. Answer that question in yes or no. Data on customers availing or likely to avail discount is rational or not. The assumption is okay or it is unrealistic assumption. All right. Now stop. I hope you have understood. What about data on bad debt? Is that also rational? What about data on bad debts? Is that also rational? Right, yes or no? So you have understood now. You may continue or you may stop. You understood now. Having understood the logic of data, having understood the problem part, now come to the solution. Our credit sales is this much. Could be in proposal 2 more because we are and in proposal 2 it is this much. Total cost without this bad debt and this cash discount. See, let me write it. Let me just cash discount and bad debt. Total cost without cash discount is bad debt. We have seen it is 80%, so 80% of it would be 120. Bad debts we may calculate, cash discount we may calculate, then we may arrive at the profit. What will be our profit? Profit will be sales minus, or maybe 1 minus 2 minus 3 minus 4. Then opportunity cost in bills receivables. Opportunity cost, not in opportunity cost of bills receivable, because our money will be blocked for some time, so we need to calculate what will be our opportunity cost. Our money will be blocked in the first case. Currently it is being blocked for how many days? We are offering in cash discount. Okay, so people are availing, 60% people are availing. Accordingly, we must have made calculations, and then this 2 will also be subtracted, and we will have net profit. Net profit will be equal to, that is 5 minus 6. 5 minus 6. Let me write here if you wish. 5 minus 6. So we have net profit. So what we see in case of proposal 1, it is increasing. In case of proposal 2, it is decreasing. So it is recommended that proposal 1 may be accepted. We can move from current to proposal 1, but we should not go for proposal 2. And these are all as figure. The moment any figure changes, our results will also change. Look at the problem part once again. That is the slide which is there on the screen. See, if there is any assumption which you think is slightly unrealistic, any assumption which is slightly unrealistic,
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in proposal 2, the bad debt is increasing, but the customer availing cash discount also increasing. It cannot be
Okay.
possible.
Say it again.
Sir, bad debt is increasing in
Okay.
proposal 2.
Bad debts are increasing, and customers availing cash discount is also increasing. So this is what you say. It is not realistic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other reaction to the statement that your colleague has made? Can I have some reaction from the class? Otherwise, I'll tell you. What one of you is saying that customers availing cash discount, the amount is increasing and bad debts are also increasing. This is a realistic assumption. I'll tell you why. If the duration increases, the possibility of bad debt also increases. 95% may avail this discount. So who are those 5%? You perhaps are looking at, that could be the reason of your answer. You could be thinking that 95% people have paid, so a smaller number, 5% left. Who will be these people who are not paying even after 110 days? After 110 days. What was your system initially? What is your system initially as on date? What is your system? You are collecting your people are paying upfront and availing 1% discount within 35 days. Number of people who are not availing discount, that is the number of days for which people are not availing discount is 60. Look at this period has become almost doubled from 60 to how many days? From 60 to 110 days. 110 days. So if the time period increases, the possibility of bad debt may also increase. And see, compare 95% and 5%. Compare 95% and 5%. Secondly, there may be, in real life, there can be some more and sophisticated calculations. For example, we have written 3 by 10, 3% discount if paid within 10 days. How many people will pay within 5 days? If there are 100 clients, out of 100 clients with the given condition, how many would pay within 5 days? Out of 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50. Any guesses? Yes, come on. I mean, the question is fairly simple. If you have understood the question, you should not take long to answer this. I'll repeat. Look at proposal 2, 3 by 10. That is 3% discount if paid within 10 days. My question is, out of total customers of 100, how many do you think would pay within 5 days? If you have not understood question, I can repeat. If you have understood question and are not able to answer, then there is a serious problem. The entire financial management revolves around these things only. And if you cannot answer it, things are really bad. Have you understood the question or not?
Yes, sir.
So how many would, think yourself that you are one of the customers. You are one of the customers who bought goods on credit. Company has offered you 3% discount if you pay within 10 days. Will you pay at the end of 5th day or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. You will pay at the end of fifth day to avail 3% discount. Anyone who will pay on the sixth day,
So since within 10 days we're getting the discounts to pay when the 10th day arrives.
yes, you are right. This is what I wanted to hear. By the way, why should you pay somebody who answered fifth day? If you have a choice to pay on 10th day, why would you pay on fifth day? Won't you lose your cash flows for 5 days? Will not you use your cash flows for 5 days? You will certainly lose. But at the same time, you should be cautious that you should have sufficient provision to pay on 10th day. If you have money today, don't pay today. Use this money for 5 days, and when the 10th day arrives, you make payment on 10th day. But you should not be waiting for 11th day and to lose 3%. So you will make several calculations. Okay, what will be the pros and cons of receiving 3% discount, making payment on 10th day, or losing 3% by crossing 11th day. Suppose you are not able to arrange funds or avail 3% discount on 10th day. What will you do? What will be your next step? For how long will you wait to make payment? Any answers? These are not really the questions of financial management. This is something which is of general interest also, general knowledge also. Somebody is offering you 30 days credit without involving any penalty, without involving any interest. Somebody is offering you 30 days credit. Should you make payment on 20th day or 20th day or 15th day or 10th day, or you should pay only on 30th?
30th day, sir.
When should you pay?
30th day.
It is understood that you should pay only on 30th day. Because why should you adversely affect your cash inflows because nothing is being charged from you as an interest? Your relations are not getting hurt because the client itself has given you 30 days time. So these are the things that you should have thought of, and then accordingly take a decision. Now the working notes have been provided here. 10 days into current proposal, the present policy, 355 days discount, 60% people will avail, so you will arrive at the amount. 6 days into 40%, that is, this money will remain in the people for 45 days. For proposal 1, 20 days. For proposal 2, you can work out. When you can work out the days, number of days, you can work out the cost also. Current cost, I have worked out to you. Average debt collection period divided by 60 will give you number of days multiplied by capital K or KE. So total cost 120. For 45 days, your money remains occupied. So because there are 360 days, we have assumed 360 instead of 365. So this will give you the opportunity cost or cost of raising money or cost arranging money for 45 days. Like we have worked out for 45 days, similarly we can work out for other number of days. For proposal 2, you need to work out yourself. Number of days I have worked out for 2. For third, you do it yourself. For opportunity cost and receivables, I have worked out and shown you the workings for the current calculation. For proposal 1 and proposal 2, do it yourself. You will arrive at these answers which are available in the slide. This I may explain to you a bit more if you wish. See, I am talking about the opportunity cost of funds blocked or cost of funds required to finance capital or have the same meaning. First of all, if you are extending credit, you work out for how many days are you extending credit. If you are offering discount, you find out how soon or how early you are getting money. In each case, number of days would be involved: 10 days, 5 days, 3 days, 1 day, 2 days, any number of days. Once we have arrived at number of days, then only cost can be calculated. Interest is calculated conventionally at a particular percentage for 1 year, 6% per annum. Now your money will be blocked not for an annum, money will be blocked for number of days. So naturally you need to calculate interest for number of, therefore you require first number of days. Then you convert it into from year to days, because this 20%, so 18% in this case, perhaps what was the cost? Yes, in this case, cost of capital we have assumed was 18%. In previous case, it was 20%. Okay. So 18% per annum, but money will be blocked for, in the current case, it is being blocked for 45 days. In, proposal 1 for 20 days. In proposal 2, again for certain number of days which are given in the slides. So first you work out number of days, accordingly adjust the opportunity cost, adjust the interest that you will be losing, and you will get an answer. In real life, there can be some more, data, could be on receivable efforts, could be on various other options. For example, the collection efforts can be, let us say, 1% of the total cost, 1% of the total sales value. Then you can subtract that. And what is the relevance of this? If your sales increases, your collection expenses will also increase. If your credit standards are loosened, that is from 1 month you collect 2 months or 3 months, your collection efforts also increase. Your litigation also will increase if there are more bad debts. So in real life, these are all calculations which companies make. Secondly, because of the point that I told this in the last is factoring services, because there are specialized agencies to which this entire thing can be outsourced. That is, you don't do it, your company does not do it, you have sold and given your debtors to somebody. It is their headache. They will give you money upfront and they will collect on your behalf. The company may also go for the cost benefit analysis of such a decision. But in all such decisions, the data such as the opportunity cost, the data such as costs associated with all things need to be correctly calculated, and then we can compare. There are a few more issues. That part we will discuss perhaps next time. We'll perhaps need to explain to you if you require any for example, this one here, or maybe partly I can explain. You may work out on your own at your home at a later date, maybe do, and then seek the clarification. We will continue having our class tomorrow, day after, but not on Sunday, because people generally not many attend on Sunday. Still the attendance is not very good. It's very poor. Now average cost of debtor would be more than the credit standard, so less than the credit standard. We need to calculate its effect on what will happen to our liquidity, what is the kind of risk that we are assuming, what will be the effect on profitability in case it increases or decreases. In reality, you will find it in the balance sheet also of the company that they present the analysis in this manner. They say age of debtor 1 to 30 days, like more than 1 day but less than 30 days, and this is the amount outstanding. If the total amount outstanding is 5 lakh, it constitutes 50%. Now, debtors ranging from 31 to 61 days in the month of November were so much. Debtors from this date to this date were so much, debtors from this date to this date were so much. That is, if you see, there were people who were outstanding for more than 90 days. Their amount was only 50,000. More than 120 days, there were just 12,500 out of total debtors of 5 lakh at any given time. If we look at the different, company might have changed its credit standard, might have changed its credit policy, might have, done both, then the effect is becoming like this. Effect is like this. That is, in the month of March, these many people are outstanding. In the month of, these many people are outstanding. Has the company improved its, receivables management compared to first phase in the second phase? Has it improved it or not? How do we take a decision? Apparently, without making any calculations, what is your assessment? Having a cursory look at this slide, has improved or it has not improved?
Improved, sir.
By the way, is the question clear or not? Shall I explain? Is the question I have asked you is clear or should I?
Not clear.
So your voice
Sorry,
is breaking.
say it again. Should I explain?
Yes, sir.
Please repeat.
Okay. No issue. Recall the meaning of aging schedule that I should have explained to you in the beginning. If total, let me explain with this example. If total debtors outstanding on any day is 5 lakh, so not all will be outstanding for more than a particular time period. These all will belong to different days. Some goods you might have sold 3 months ago, some even yesterday, some maybe 4 months ago. So this 5 lakh, if it is classified into the age of debtor, when we say age of debtor, we mean if you have sold goods to somebody maybe 2 months before, as on date, the age of debtor is 2 months. Let us say today is 6th October. Credit was given on 6th of September and somebody has not paid till date. So what is the age of that particular debtor? It is 1 month. And the same person, suppose, has not paid up to the 5th November. The age of this debtor becomes 2 months. If you flag every debtor, there may be 100 people, 200 people, and the amount associated with the person. Here we are not talking number of debtors, we are talking amount associated with a particular debt. If you flag each one of them and classify them in frequency table, what is this? One is between 1 and 30, 7 and 90, 91, 120. This is nothing but a frequency table. After flagging each debtor's amount, you have classified them into various groups. You can have other classification also: 1 to 15, 16 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 61, with a gap of 15. Here we are having a gap of 30 days, 30, 30, 30. You can have a frequency table with a gap of, or with the group of 15, 1 to 15, 16 to 30, 31 to 45, 45 to 60, 61 to 75, and 76 to 90, something like that. So what are you doing? You are classifying the age of debtors. We need to make several efforts so that this portion of our management, this portion of our receivable management becomes more attractive, more feasible, with less charges, with less possibility of bad debt, etc., etc. So this is what we wish to discuss and see its implications on finance, is on financial management with regard to overall receivable management. I'll continue this discussion tomorrow and will send you detailed text about the remaining classes. You may